completely on topic, Roger Waters has re-recorded Dark Side of the Moon. He's like, it's my project, I wrote it, so blah, I don't need any of the other guys. Or the two guys that are still around.
Welcome to GCP Live, episode number 33 for the 10th of February 2023. GCP Live is sponsored by Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, you're fired. What's with all the mass layoffs? We check out the Q4 results. We take a look into the next salvo in the AI wars. And is Google getting too big for its boots? But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the invigorated co-host, Dave Wall. How you going, Dave?
You know, I really love, and hopefully, we can play a little bit of the cutouts of this episode because we just had a major audio malfunction. And the thing you said to me the first time around was not nearly as pleasant as that one. But I am invigorated, thank you. I am feeling very sprightly.
See, it did give you a lift, didn't it?
It did too. I think it always helps when we have something silly happen at the start of the podcast.
It does.
Really sets the mood.
Anyway, I saved the day. I do have a little habit of going back and checking that the recording is actually happening every now and then. And luckily I did that because it was only like the first couple of minutes of the show.
Yeah, that would have been real bad. An hour in.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
I have a habit of that because, when I first got this mic, I had all these problems with the cable and it would always drop out. So I've got the Audacity window up on a half screen and I've got you on the other half of the screen so I can see the waveform the whole time.
Yeah, I might actually just do that here while I've got that going. Yeah, it's a good idea. So where were we at? Oh, yeah, so how you been? What's been happening in the last fortnight, or a little bit extended fortnight, actually?
Yeah, a little stretch. We did an early podcast last time around, so it felt like a while having that extra few days.
It did, yeah. It sort of gave us a break, but I really wasn't on a break when I was away. It was so busy. We had I had my parents nearby and my sister, so we're doing stuff with them all the time, and the dog was with us, so I had to take him out all the time. So even though I was off for a week, I wasn't just sitting up on the couch the whole time. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, you had to come back, have a couple of days off to recover from your holiday.
I needed a few days in my chair to recover.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we took a couple of days. We're down to Phillip Island and did the beach stuff, but we went to this like a funhouse thing. It's called like a maze and things because they have a maze and things.
I think I may have been there actually.
Yeah, it's like on the main drag on Phillip Island. Like you can't miss it really. But they have like the normal kind of funhouse stuff, like mirror rooms and like rooms where like everything's on kind of like an angle, so it throws off your sense of perception. That was pretty funky. But they had like a horror room that was attached to all these kind of like magician's tricks things, and so we didn't take the kids through that, but I went in because I wanted to see, and it was genuinely scary. Like it was. I would not go back into that again.
Because, usually those things are pretty lame, right?
Yeah, like a haunted house sort of thing. No, there were some genuine jump scares, and even some of the ones that I was like, okay, I know when I walk down there, that box is definitely, something's going to happen with that box. So I'll be prepared for that. And then, something did, but then something got me from behind as well at the same time, and I wasn't prepared for that.
So jump scare that you were ready for, but then they just switch and bait.
Yeah, exactly.
Get you the other way.
The double jump scare.
The double jump scare.
I can't jump that many ways. But it was a good time.
Classic thing they do in the movies, right? Isn't it? They think you're going to be scared, then they let you calm down, and then they really scare you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just straight back in and straight back to work. I haven't really been playing with any tech. I did muck around a little bit with VMWARE during the week on a box here, but I quickly found out that box was way too old to run anything decent on it, so I gave up with that idea.
Yeah.
But stop the presses. Yesterday, a story came out on CRN. And I was not expecting this, But Fast 50 company Mantle Group achieves AWS and Google recognition. And this article mentions myself and Lizzie as receiving the Google Cloud Partner All-Stars Program Award. So was not expecting that. I'll link the article in the show notes. The article also links back to GCP Life, back to this podcast.
Yep.
So it's going to be very interesting to see if there's an uptick in subscriptions as a result of this.
It's going to be good for our SEO, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't know anymore. I don't know how this article came about or who. Amelia Norris has written this article. I don't know much about Amelia Norris either. But right there on CRN, one of Australia's premier IT publications, also talks about Mantle Group, Casna, and CMD, because CMD also recently received what's the award called?
Australian Services Partner of the Year for AWS.
Australian Services, that's it, yeah. So they received that. And everything's just onwards and upwards with the Mantle Group, businesses.
I did like there was a typo on this article when it first went up though, and like, you were Bancrosoft.
Bancrosoft. I like it. I'm going to keep it.
You got to register that domain, right?
Ooh, don't make me. But yeah, I quickly responded to the LinkedIn post and said, could you please fix that typo? Because I had no other way of getting in touch with these people. And it seems like, yes, they have gone back and done that. So I'll link that in the show notes. Have a read of that, or go into LinkedIn. You'll see it everywhere, all over LinkedIn, I'm sure. Something else that happened during the week, I wasn't going to make a full news article about this, but the VMware ransomware.
Yeah, and now this one's disappointing. So this was like worldwide. There's been like thousands of ESXi hosts that have been, ransomware. The disappointing thing is, like, that bug. It was the patches were out for it in early 2021.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a flaw in the SLP service. Now, I recall actually at the time, because I was managing a VMware fleet then, it was both the SIM service and SLP that needed to be disabled. And even if you couldn't do the patches, you could just disable the services and you'd be okay. So, like, come on, guys, this is like nearly 2 years ago that these patches came out. Like, it's bad that these people have been exploited, but if you haven't patched your ESXi hosts in 2 years,
yeah.
And they're internet facing.
So you've made your own bed, right? And you've got to lie in it.
Yeah.
Now, they say this is for versions of ESXi prior to 6.7, right? I think that's what I read in one of the articles. And I know from my experience during the week, you can't do anything. You pretty much, anything before 6.7 is almost useless. You've got none of the new features, almost nothing you can do with it. And it's ancient hardware to run those old versions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like 6.7 U3, which is the latest version of 6.7.
Yeah.
I think it's already end of support, but it's end of like extended support or end of technical guidance in October this year. Right?
So we're talking about
TikTok,
the generation before that even. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, because even vSphere 7 came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 2020. So,
so and articles I've been reading, they're talking about thousands of VMware installs in primarily Europe at the moment. Are people really that I don't know, just that lazy, or just that frightened, or just what?
They 100% are, and I've seen this a disturbing amount of times where you'll look at a customer's environment and they'll have ESXi hosts that have uptimes in the hundreds of days. And like uptimes where they were like 2 or 3 years worth of uptime when you had that server's never been rebooted. If it's never been rebooted, it's never been patched.
Yeah. This feeds into a conversation we had in a previous show where, chaos engineering, reliability, you actually need to be rebooting these machines because one day you're going to have a power outage or you're going to have something that causes them, someone's going to trip over a lead or something. And as part of your testing and, reliability, you need to be rebooting them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that's even outside the need to patch them, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a testament to the stability of VMware as a platform. But reboot your hosts, people.
Yeah, right. It's based on Linux, so it's got a lot. All right, then. Let's get on with the community news. I thought we'd introduce a new segment called Community News, and we're just going to highlight a few things that are happening around the place. The ones we have here today are featuring Casnians, people from Casna. But if anything comes up that would interest our audience, or if you've got something you want put in our community spotlight, then send it through to the show and we'll make sure it appears here.
Yeah, always happy to give something a plug.
That's right. We'll give you a little bit of a plug. But for this week, we have a couple of items going on. We have, on the 2nd of March, we have the Hitchhiker's Guide to... What's the thing? Hitchhiker's Guide to Google Cloud. Thanks. Yeah, I knew it was something. That's on the 2nd of March. This is a free one-day Google Cloud training event. And this is run by Casna. And we've done it before.
Yeah, we did it up in Sydney at the tail end of last year. And
that's right. And, the idea is to get you skilled up and introduced to Google Cloud. And it, exposes you to what's possible on Google. And
I think there's some swag, and you can't put a price on that, right?
That's
free
right.
training, but swag is forever.
Yeah, it's a completely free one-day intensive training that will upskill you in basic Google Cloud knowledge and includes hands-on, real-life challenges to solve alongside a carefully constructed training agenda from Casna's Google Cloud experts and our partners at Google. So there you go, some people at Google as well. Check that one out. I'll put the link in the show notes. A second item for today is we have Louise Smith, who's one of our data engineers. She is presenting at the Perth Data Engineer Conference, and that's on the 22nd of February. I'll put a link in the show notes to that conference. I don't see a link for the agenda here, but she's presenting an item on that. So if you're in Perth, make sure you get along to that on 22nd of Feb. And finally, this one was given to me by a friend of the show, Ian Brown. Of course, we all know Ian.
All do.
Been on the show a few times. Google Developer Group in Brisbane, G2G Brisbane, is doing a Flutter Forward recap on February the 9th, Thursday, February the 9th. That's tonight, in fact. So if you're hearing this on Friday the 10th, then it will be too late.
So I hope you went. I hope you had a great time. But,
I hope you went. I hope you did. Exactly, yeah. That's really angled at Flutter. I think Flutter Forward was on a few weeks ago discussing Flutter. I don't pretend to know Flutter, and I don't even play a Flutter developer on the podcast, but this is a recap of what happened at Flutter, and it's presented by Brett Morgan from Google Australia. So that is our community news for this week. Let's get on with the news items. And of course, the big story from the previous week was all the layoffs.
Yeah, it was across the board. All of big tech was taking the axe to the headcount.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Zorg.
Excuse me, sir. The council is worried about the economy heating up. They wondered if it'd be possible to fire 500,000. I thought maybe from one of the smaller companies where no one would notice. Like one of the cab companies.
Fire 1 million.
The 500,000... 1 million. Fine, sir. Sorry to have disturbed you.
So let's just go through the numbers here. Microsoft, 10,000. Google, 12,000. Amazon, 18,000. Meta, 11,000.
Casna? Zero.
Zero. Look, to be fair, there's a US. I'm not sure what the impact is here in Oz. I've not heard of any great impact similar.
Yeah. It was interesting in that because big tech had been hoovering up all of the talent, all through like the COVID years, like the massive ramp up in hiring that they were all doing, that even with these pretty sizable layoffs, most of their headcount is still like well up on where they were even towards the end of 2021.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There was a period there where if you weren't a big tech company, you couldn't get tech people.
Oh,
you're right. They're all hoovered up. Yeah, that's the right term for it.
Yep.
Is it the end of the party? Have they been spending too much up to now?
I would posit that, yes, possibly they overran, like they were trying to hire in front of demand, and then, softening economic data is giving them some time to have to go back and maybe reassess their requirements, maybe be a little bit more choosy about who they've got and who they might want to clean house on. Like I definitely saw... the sort of people who would post videos of like, this is what a day in the life of working at Google is. And it's just like them going to the gym and getting juice and stuff. And they're like, I just got sacked by Google.
I have to say though, I've seen a few clips on YouTube on individuals that were sacked by Google. I don't think they went the right way about it. The one story of someone trying to log into their account, first thing Monday morning, they couldn't log in.
Yeah, it was like 3 a.m. locked all the accounts out.
Yeah, and no explanation why. Just locked out. I think that's a bit low, really. Really.
Yeah, that's a harsh way to find out.
And then this particular individual had to ring around, of course they couldn't find anyone's numbers because it's all in the corporate directory.
Yeah.
Had to finally find, use the telephone to make calls. Who does that anymore?
It's like, how do I call Google? How do I get them?
Yeah, exactly. And then just eventually found out they've been sacked. So I don't necessarily agree with the way it was carried out. I can probably understand the reasoning behind it, but the approach was not the best.
I mean, on the plus side, at least Google's got pretty generous severance packages that they do, so I think they're kind of all right on that regard, especially for anyone who's had a decent amount of tenure. So yeah, it did end up costing them a lot. The company, this has come out of another article when we get on the Q4 earnings. This was something that was in that article. The company expects the recently announced layoffs of about 12,000 people to cost between 1.9 billion and 2.3 billion in severances and related costs. That's got a sting. So it does, but companies at that size, they tend to kind of keep that money on hand. Yeah. Right. I've been through, the redundancy cycles before working in enterprise. Like, it was always just a thing that was floating around, right? And there was, no matter what was going on, there was always money for redundancies. It's like a whole separate bucket of money. Just keep that aside in case we have to sack the entire workforce. It's like leave payments as well. They have to keep the leave money aside in case like a whole bunch of people decide to take leave around the same time. But let's look at it here. The pandemic, obviously during the pandemic, there was a change in consumer spending, right? And in the last 12 months, that's almost gone 180 degrees in what's happened, right? And especially recently, everyone's just pivoted to AI almost overnight. It was building up for a while, but suddenly all the focus is heavily on that. And if you, there's the tech companies up to now, they've focused on VR and AR. Right, let's look at what they've been focusing on. VR and AR. What's that doing? Well, you know how I feel about we've talked about the metaverse a bunch and going nowhere, right? Voice assistants. That was big there for a while, right? They dumped heaps of money into voice assistants, right? Hey, don't get me wrong. Going nowhere. Well, okay, yes. It's not going to make them any money, but I do love my Google Home device.
Well, yeah, I think it's gimmicky. I really think it's gimmicky. I don't think it's going to make the potential changes that AI looks like it's going to make.
I don't know. I haven't seen AI go and set my timer for cooking my eggs.
Oh, you wait.
Yeah.
You wait.
You're like, hey, Dave, you're eating too many eggs. So I'm not going to set a timer for you.
Dave's not here, man. What about consumer tech? Things like Peloton bikes. We're not buying them anymore.
No,
right?
yeah.
They would have been selling in droves, right?
They did. They were riding out the door.
Right. They were riding out the door, not selling them anymore. So that's just crashed. And we already talked about CES the other day, how they just put a smart device on anything. And I think
flushing them down the toilet now.
It's saturated. The devices, the tech is saturated. People are saturated in their homes. There's kind of no need. Like my phone is like it's a OnePlus 5, and it's years old now. It's like 4 years old, 5 years old, but it's fine. It does the job. I'm not getting the updates, but it does the job. Like the camera's fine. It plays music fine. Like
it's very much a black rectangle.
It's a black rectangle like all the others. So there's a saturation effect there, and people just aren't spending on devices anymore. And another one I thought about too is content spending, like Netflix and Prime, and they're not really. They're not. It doesn't seem like they're going out and putting as much in. Like, when was the last Star Wars thing we saw? Like, prior to the pandemic, how many Marvel and Star Wars movies came out, right? But since then, there's not been much. It's really slowed down.
Yeah, except Avatar. But
let's not talk about Avatar.
Can we?
It's not a movie podcast.
Could be.
So, and I kind of now I've got another hypothesis as well, right? I'm seeing a 10-year cycle here. Now, just stay with me here for a bit. We had the dot-com crash, late 90s, right? 2000-ish, right? Then around 2009, 2010, we had sort of another GFC crash, right? It was a 10-year thing. And now here we are. It's a little bit on from 10 years, but around the same time, post-pandemic, right? We're getting another sort
correction.
Of tech crash.
Probably.
A tech correction, exactly. So there seems to be this 10-year cycle that's occurring. We're post the pandemic, which all the reasons I just talked about now, people aren't spending, and this tech saturation effect where there's a video I watched on Nutella, Satya was saying everyone's got the tech that's saturated. They don't really need anymore. This is why everyone's so excited about things like ChatGPT. It's new, right? It's a novel thing.
Yeah, I think novel thing. I think we touched on this last time, or maybe the time before. But like, it's a real thing that I can interact with and get a response. So it's not an abstract thing like, oh, we're using AI in this industry to hyper globalize our widget delivery.
Yeah, that's. Well, we'll talk about Bing search later, but we'll see. So I just think all those factors have confounded, at the same time, and suddenly all tech companies are just going, we can't afford to go on like this. We've got to cut some dead wood. Well, not dead wood. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of great people that they had to put off, but they've all pivoted at the same time.
Yep. Interesting times, unfortunately.
Interesting times, unfortunately.
It was nice that period of time where line just go up. Line go up was nice.
Yeah, that's right. But line him go all ziggy zaggy now.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Now the only line that's going up is my mortgage payment.
Every month. Tell me about it. All right, so while we're talking about profit and loss, let's discuss the Google Q4 earnings article on CRN again. A lot of quotes, a lot of things on here. They do get to the numbers at one point.
It was a good Q4 for Google Cloud. I think that's the key thing, right? Is that the numbers for Alphabet as a whole weren't great, but Google Cloud had still really strong growth, and a big reduction in their loss year on year.
So the numbers on that, Dave, Google Cloud brought in $7.3 billion during the quarter, an increase of about 30% year over year. Not bad, right? The unit reported an operating loss of $480 million of the quarter, but that is about half the loss experienced a year prior.
Yeah, now I'm thinking back because we would have touched on this, because this podcast has been going on for over a year now. We would have touched on those Q4 results this time last year.
We would have.
And I think I remember us like remarking that even then, like, oh, well, yeah, it's on the way up. It was still reducing over the year before. So it's great seeing it still progressing. It'd actually be cool to pull out our previous comments on it.
If we'd actually done some good research on this, then we'd be able to do that.
We could have. Yeah.
We could. Nonetheless, they're telling us here in this CRN article that it has improved year on year. Alphabet did not break out revenues for Google Workspaces, the enterprise application suite. We know what it is. But Perot said that segments delivered strong results and were driven by increases in both seats and average revenue per seat. So it sounds like they're happy with where they sit, even though they're operating a loss. I did read in another article that most of that loss has actually come from reinvestment in the platform.
Yeah, they're building forward. There's still new DCs being added in, adding services to, other sites worldwide. Like, we know, right? Even like, we deal a lot with VMware Engine. That's a big hardware investment on Google's side to add that to a region.
Yep. And then to continually maintain it too.
Of course.
Yeah. And finally, at the end of this article, Alphabet brought in $76 billion in consolidated revenue for the quarter, an increase of 7% year over year, ignoring foreign exchange. The bulk of Alphabet's revenue still comes from online advertising. And we're going to talk about that later in the show, particularly from Google Search. The ad business brought in $59 billion during the quarter.
That's just
down about 4%.
Numbers. Like, I think about like how big GCP is, and it's only 10% of the revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. $59 billion for a quarter. That's crazy.
That'll do.
Yep. For the full year in 2022, here we go. Alphabet brought in $283 billion, up 14% year over year, ignoring foreign exchange. So, yeah, there's some big numbers, but apparently the Dodge doesn't like it. The Dodge doesn't like it because they're trying to split Google up with an antitrust.
The Dodge.
Yeah. Dodge files second antitrust suit against Google seeking to break its ad business up.
I like the idea of calling the US Justice Department the Dodge.
Department of Justice, yeah. So this is an article on CNBC, and if you've not heard about this, here's the key points. The US Justice Department filed its second antitrust lawsuit against Google in just 2 years, this time targeting its advertising business. The first lawsuit under the Biden administration, and it comes soon after reports that the Dodge Antitrust Division Chief Jonathan Cantor had been cleared to work on Google matters. So he asked for it, and he sounds like he's going after them. Now, what's the breakdown on this? Well, the lawsuit, which focused on Google's online advertising business, seeks to make Google divest part of its business. Interesting. They want to split it up. Google's advertising business generated $54.5 billion, there's that number again, in the quarter ending 30 September from search, YouTube, Google, network ads, and other advertising. And it's drawn some critics because the platform operates on multiple sides of the market. Now, this is where we get to the crux of why they're trying to do this: buying, selling, and ad exchange, giving a unique insight into processes and potential leverage.
Yeah, I think that's where it's all come together, right? You got this one-stop shop. Google sits in the middle. They can see who's buying, who's selling, who's willing to pay for what, and they can see all the spread.
Yeah, and so there's a quote here. It says, and I've got an opinion on this: is there a deeper issue with us owning the platform, the exchange, and a huge network? The analogy would be if Goldman or Citibank's owned the New York Stock Exchange. Now, I don't know about that. Here's the thing. Google have built this platform. Right? They built it. They own it. You don't have to use it. Right?
I think part of it has come in is that, yes, a lot of it was built in-house. There's also been a lot of acquisitions over the years as well, but those acquisitions have been approved. I think it's more now that they've hit such a prominent point in the market. To which they come back and say that, oh, well, no, look, Meta has this massive ad market as well, and there is competition. But I can see where they would be being looked at for that.
Yeah, and they do cite Meta as an argument saying, we don't dominate the whole ad space. Meta are one of our biggest competition.
This quote here that, in effect, Google was robbing from Peter, the advertisers, to pay Paul, the publishers, all while collecting a hefty transactions fee for its own privileged position in the middle, the enforcers allege.
Yes, interesting. So the whole thing hinges on this open bidding tool. So I got a couple of quotes here that kind of explain what's going on. So Google became aware of another attempted workaround called header bidding, where publishers could add code to their websites to let non-Google ad exchanges bid for inventory, but before Google's ad exchange preferences were triggered, letting ad exchange rivals back into the market in a significant way. Right, and Google has described that as an existential threat. Then Google spun up its own thing called open bidding tool as an alternative, which the complainant called a Trojan horse. Publishers and ad exchanges that participated in the program had to give Google visibility into their auctions, including rival exchange bids. That allowed Google's ad exchange to retain a guaranteed seat in every auction, regardless of whether Google's ad exchange offers the best match between advertisers and publishers. So that's the key of the complaint there. I mean, that kind of sounds anti-competitive.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Yeah, the complaint alleges. So we'll see what happens. But the thing is, this has been tried before. So it largely duplicates an unfounded lawsuit by Texas Attorney General, much of which was recently dismissed by a federal court. Dodge is doubling down on a flawed argument that would slow innovation, raise advertising fees, and make it harder for thousands of small businesses and publishers to grow. That's what Google is saying. So they're going to argue that this has been done before and it got kicked out of federal court, so it shouldn't even be heard.
Which, of course, they're going to present that case that there's no merits to it, and I guess we'll just have to see how it rolls out.
Turns out, yeah.
The other bit of controversy I think there was around this was that certain politicians in the US made some pretty sizable sells of Google stock 30 days before this was announced.
Interesting. Yeah. Insider trading, anybody?
Yeah, I don't think it's Canada's insider trading if you're a politician, apparently.
You're right. Of course not. Skirting the margins there for sure. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. But let's move on. Now, Dave, Google has fired the next salvo. The next salvo in the AI wars.
It's on. Begun the AI wars have.
Begun the AI war has. So we saw ChatGPT and we've talked ad infinitum about ChatGPT.
Yeah, and we've talked about like, hey, what's Google going to do next? What are they keeping their powder dry for? What's going on? Speculation.
But we have Bard. We have Bard now.
We do. Long live the Bard.
So Bard's been around for a while, and we talked about Bard.
Yes, it was Lambda is the underlying.
Lambda, yeah. It was one of the Lambda engineers said, "Oh, this thing's sentient," and kind of went off the rails about it.
Yeah.
But let's break this down. I was trying to understand this. We've got OpenAI
Yeah.
which ChatGPT runs on, and that's equivalent to Anthropic. So that's like the platform that Bard runs on. Is that right?
No. Okay. So you got a couple of things in play
Still
there.
don't understand.
Okay.
I still don't
Right. Okay. So there's a company called OpenAI. They have a large learning model, which is ChatGPT that we all know and love. And in conjunction, Microsoft are a massive investor into OpenAI, and OpenAI runs on Azure. Okay, so that's that relationship.
Yep. Google
has Bard, which runs on Lambda.
Yep.
And obviously runs on, it's going to be GCP running all the back end of that.
Not to be confused with AWS Lambda functions.
Not to be confused with Lambda functions, no.
No.
There is a third player here, which you mentioned is Anthropic. Now, Anthropic was span out of ex-OpenAI people, and they have their own chatbot in development called Claude.
Claude, yeah.
Now, Google has invested like $400 million into Anthropic, which I think about a 10% stake. And I think Anthropic has announced that Google's like their preferred partner for running cloud compute. But I don't think that money actually had a requirement for them to spend it on Google Cloud.
Right.
So it wasn't like you have to use us. Here's some credits.
400 million in credits.
400 million in credits, yeah.
Okay, so that's the landscape we're at the moment. Now, we know all about ChatGPT and OpenAI, where that's at. But Bard right now is in a closed preview. Is that right?
It is, yeah. So it's like a trusted early access thing. We don't have direct access to it. However, we do have some contacts at Google that we were able to ask them to go and ask Bard to do things for us.
And what did you ask Bard, Dave?
So I wanted a script for a podcast episode about Bard because that would make our job easier, right?
It would. And what did Bard say? Let's dig it up here.
All right. Do we want to run through the script?
Well, give us a taste of it.
Oh, okay. I'll put on my Bard voice.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another segment of our podcast. Today, we'll be talking about Bard, the AI language model that's been generating a lot of buzz lately. With me is our guest speaker. Guest speaker's name. It'll be you, right? Let's say Banky.
Yeah.
Who is an expert in the field of natural language processing. Banky, welcome to the show.
And then it's got a whole script here, doesn't it? There's his guest speaker's name. Could you tell me a bit about Bard? And then it goes on. And it's just this whole conversation. And it really is natural, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like any level of kind of fluff piece that you might see, like just a very short segment on a news program. And then it'll do it.
Yeah. It's amazing. So what do you think of the implications of Bard for the future of AI? I think Bard is a very exciting development in the field of AI. It shows that it's possible to create AI systems. I'm reading this directly. I'm not changing any of it. It shows that it's possible to create AI systems that can generate text that is indistinguishable from human written text. This could have a number of implications, including the ability to create more realistic chatbots and virtual assistants and the ability to generate more accurate, informative news articles.
I agree. I think Bard is a very promising development, and I'm excited to see what other applications it will be used for in the future.
Thanks for your insights, Dave, and all that time we have for today. I mean, do you remember hearing the recording of the Google Assistant? And the Google Assistant could
add in the ums and ahs, natural ticks.
And you could just tell it, book me a haircut at 12 o'clock. And then it would ring the place and talk to the person. And it's like, 12 o'clock's not available. Could we do 12:30? Yeah, 12:30 is fine. And then it would put an entry in your calendar.
Yeah.
That was as fluent as this.
Yeah, it was super cool. I mean, that side of, not really virtual assistants, but like something on the phone side of things that I've been finding really great is having like the call screening stuff on my Pixel. So if I get like a dodgy phone call, I can send it to call screening and it will answer the phone call, and it gives them a little thing saying that like it's being recorded and being transcribed to me. I can see it on my phone.
Yeah.
And if the person, if it's the actual legit call, I can then pick it up.
Right. That's a function of the phone.
It's a function on the phone, on the
Right.
Pixels. Same goes for like if I call a call center, it will pick up that I'm on hold and it'll be like, do you want me to like hold for you? And I can say yes, and I can put my phone down, and it shows a little transcription. It'll say like, music playing, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it'll transcribe the ads that they put in there. And then,
And then it rings when a person answers to tell you to pick it up?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. I can upgrade. I talked about how useful my phone is still, but it's really not.
No.
I got to upgrade.
Yeah, but a little bit off topic, but we are seeing more actual useful features for AI. Right.
Yeah, that's great. It's when the AI start talking to each other, that's when we've got to be worried.
Yeah.
Which they may well be. I guess the landscape exists for that to actually happen.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. So let's look at this. Google has invested $400 million in this. Alphabet Inc. Google has invested almost $400 million in artificial intelligence startup Anthropic, which is testing a rival to OpenAI's ChatGPT, according to a person familiar with the deal. Of course, they declined to comment on it. And then this article goes in to talk about how AI has evolved, as we just discussed, and where it's going on. So, it's just the next salvo in the war. Now, I went and I signed up for the Bing, the new Bing. Right.
Wow. You just outed yourself as a Bing user.
I want to find out. Go there, bing.com, right? And have you seen, you got to be aware of what's going on. Google they must be like in panic mode over this.
All right.
This has just come from nowhere.
Let me see your Bing.
Oh, it's not working just yet because you have to sign up for, so here you would type in, I need to throw a dinner party for 6 people who are vegetarian. Can you suggest 3-course menu and a chocolate dessert? So that's the kind of thing you would put into it. AI assisted search, right? And you go try, right? Now, see, it's giving me my usual search results, which, by the way, I mean, this is just copy paste Google. I really use Bing.
Oh, I can see on the right hand side. No, there it is.
On the right hand side, this is what your AI assisted search would look like. Right?
Okay.
Sure, I can suggest 3 courses with a chocolate dessert for you, blah, 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 blah. Right? So you can go and join the wait list for the AI assisted search in Bing, and I've done that. So you don't have to.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
And I'll tell you what the experience is like when I get it. But this is the next hotness. And Google search guys must be kicking themselves that they've missed the boat on this. I tell you what, and they're in panic mode because this could potentially really give Bing a leg up if this works the way I see, they're anticipating.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
I have to use Bing.
Once again, it raises all those content usage questions, right? That we talked about the other week.
Yeah, because where is this information coming from?
Where is the information coming from? Right now, normally, if it was a classic search, I would have the link there. This first one here comes up BuzzFeed. It's like, okay, cool. I go there, go to BuzzFeed. They've got some, now normally there would be ads plastered all over this, but I've got so many ad blocking technologies on my network that we don't see them, and that gives BuzzFeed a little bit of the revenue there. Right? But with an AI-assisted search, you don't get that. Right? The AI is just straight up telling me what I need, but they've sourced this information from somewhere.
But it's put a bunch of links. So, like, obviously, this is not good radio, but like I can see a bunch of links there that is linking to the actual websites.
Oh, it is
so
too.
At least there's that.
It is too. Okay, it is. But here's the other thing. For years now, whenever I've done, a lot of the time, if you're doing a quick search in Google, especially for tech things, right, and you've got a very specific question, the excerpt will quite often give you just that bit of information you need.
Yeah, that's true. Or and if not the exact thing, to help you validate that, oh yeah, that's the site that I do want.
That's right. But if the excerpt gives you just specifically that answer you need, there's no need to go to the website.
Yeah, correct.
So It's the same problem, right? The original source is not really getting any sort of any sort of payment for that piece of content. Same problem that Copilot has, and the same problem that the AI art has.
Yeah,
the sourcing of the training material.
Yeah, coming from real information somewhere.
That's right. So it remains to be seen. I mean, we may be seeing another dodge case around that. Or some sort of case around that.
Not a dodgy case, huh?
Yeah, that's it. AI server. I'm sure there'll be another one next week.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting to see, because there's not a date yet on when that's going to be more widely available. They are saying soon, like in the coming months, that we should be able to get access to Bard. I do think the one thing that was interesting and what I could see with Bard currently was that it's able to give you responses based off some current events, whereas I think ChatGPT is currently limited to, I think their data set goes back to like 2021.
That's right. It was only populated up to late 2021.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not connected to the net, so it can't update itself.
Yeah, I guess it's not getting poisoned by articles about ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah. Talk about inflating your ego. If an AI can have an ego, wouldn't that? That's what would be happening. All right, let's move on here with this last little fun article. Google pays hacker duo $22,000 in bug bounties for flaw in multiple cloud projects.
Yay! Bug bounties. We love bug bounties. They're a great program. They're a great idea.
We love a bug bounty. Vulnerabilities in 4 Google Cloud projects have earned a pair of security researchers more than $22,000 in bug bounties. Nice.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing with these is, and good job to the guys who found them, for sure, right? Like that's awesome, well deserving of their bug bounties. But they were just normal server side request forgery attacks, right? They were GET requests that didn't have any CSRF protection.
No, they were just sitting there.
Just sitting there.
But it was the way they implemented it, though. It's the way they tricked it to redirect to the Jupyter Notebook. This one specific one here, the most lucrative project for hacker duo Sriman and Sivashen, was machine learning training and deployment platform Vertex AI, which netted them a pair of $5,000 payouts for server-side request forgery, bug, and subsequent patch bypass. Now, there's a video here that you can watch on how they do it. They do a few things. Specifically, they're using FeedBurner without the proxy to allow them to, and that's apparently forwarded on the authentication, and then they were able to just capture it in the GET. And it leveraged an already existing CVE, which they already knew about, and were able to get the credentials, which then would give them access to any project that particular user had owner on.
It's good. There's plenty of details on it. It's always nice to read that kind of stuff after it's been fixed.
And then there was another problem on Thea Compute Engine workstations bug. This included exploiting the Workbench feature again in Thea. The integrated development environment used Google and Cloud Shell as disclosed in a separate blog post. And that one earned them the 3133.70 bounty, all up $22,000 in bounties.
Yeah, good job. Not a bad little payday.
All right, I'll link that in the show notes. Well, Dave, we might finish up there. What do you think?
Yeah, I reckon that'll do, mate. We just managed to squeeze out an hour.
An hour, and it's been a bumper show with a lot going on, including a new segment. But yeah, go off and have a look at the CRN article that mentions yours truly. I'll just plug that one again. And yeah, take a look at that hacker one that I just talked about there, because there is a great video and it explains how it works, and it's great for any tech people that are listening. Well, don't forget to go and write a review for the show on iTunes, and you can contact the show at gcplife@casna.com.au. We've got a Twitter there at gcplife. Also, the website, you can just Google that and you'll find us. There's also a link to the GCP Life iTunes feed in that CRN article, so you can go there and find it that way as well. And don't forget, today's sponsor was Casna. At Casna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And that's about it for us for 2 weeks. How about yourself, Dave?
Yeah, no, good. We say that a certain other former co-host is now in his orbit back around.
He is. Yeah, so we might... We'll save that little nugget there, but we might be hearing from him in a few weeks.
Always love having a guest on.
Be cool to have him back on, yeah. And that's it from us for now, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Catch you later. Wow. Oh, you just hit me with the big guns first thing. Like, you know what? This guy that I'm stuck with on the podcast. Well, I was feeling okay till now. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to have just a little grump in the corner.